Good evening and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting of the 14th of May 2024. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. Please, we acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe, and especially those in Ukraine and the Middle East. We seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Thank you. Be seated. Please be seated. Just a few reminders of not using your mobile phones, turning off your microphone as soon as you finish speaking, and being respectful of the speaker so they can be heard appropriately. Emergency procedures go without repeating. Absences, we have had an apology from Councillor Zing tonight. Declaration of interest, reminding you to take that action if you need to when the time comes. Confirmation of minutes, I seek a mover. Councillor Hallett, you're moving, receive the minutes, and a seconder, Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Adjourned, we have no adjourned business, no public presentations tonight or deputations, no public question time, no petitions, so we will move to the reports and I'll read through them and see if you wish to withdraw them for debate or move them straight away. Yes, I did. Yeah, I said it. Right, first one is 11.1, new loan borrowing. I'm looking for someone on the screen here. Nobody to withdraw, then Councillor Cornish, you moving it?
Yes.
And seconded by Councillor Dawes. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Regional subsidiaries, annual business plans and budgets. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw?
Thank you, Mayor.
11.3, annual review of items held in confidence. Anyone wish to move that? Councillor Henschke, do you wish to move it? Seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Third quarter budget review, 2020. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw?
Thank you, Mayor.
Era Water Gums Reserve connection request. Councillor Turnbull, you're wishing to withdraw it, Councillor Turnbull? And 11.6, Era Water second budget review. Councillor Davey, withdrawing or moving?
I'll withdraw, thanks, Mayor.
Right, well then I'll go back to 11.2 on page 10, Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have an alternate motion to move. And while that comes up on the screen, I'll just read out. I'll get someone else to read it out, actually, so I don't lose my time.
I think you don't have to read it all out unless there's major changes.
I've read it, just a couple of amendments.
Yeah, I think just read out the amendments, Councillor Davey.
But I'll lose my speaking time, don't I?
I'm happy to read it once it comes up, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Just to assist. So, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to read out the amended motion, just the changed components.
That's not it, actually. Can you scroll down? There's 3 parts to it that I sent through.
Here it is.
Yes, thank you.
So, just to confirm that parts 1 to 5 are consistent with what's in the agenda papers. Just part B requests the 24-25 East Waste Annual Plan be amended to delete the sentences commencing recent announcements by the state government and ending with has now been contracted significantly, bracket page 4, paragraph 2 of the draft plan, page 35 of this agenda, close bracket. And part C requests that in future reports to Council, each subsidiary be provided as an individual report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So the first part is self-explanatory. I think they're all fairly straightforward. The only one that I've got a concern with is the East Waste Annual Plan, and that is in the section on page 35 of this report, where it talks about, because one of the most important things is the FOGO trials that we're having, and that we capitalise on those, undertake those and capitalise on those. They've included a statement that says recent announcements by the state government regarding the potential implementation of legislation which will constrain local government's flexibility in this space has resulted in this positive advancement being placed in limbo. The advancement previously planned for in financial year 25 has now been contracted significantly. That's the section that I'd ask that they delete. I don't think that adds anything to the report, and I think it reflects badly in terms of if we want the government on side to help us, eventually change the legislation and rationalise the legislation so that we can eventually have weekly FOGO bin collections. And the other issue that I think is, in terms of governance terms, is better for us and for if we want to discuss any of these reports, is that subsidiaries stand alone and that they have their own report, annual report in draft brought to us for authorisation as an individual report. I just don't think it's good governance and management to group them all together. So that's just my recommendation for tonight, and that I ask for your support for it. Thank you.
Just before I seek a seconder, the CEO needs to make a declaration.
Through Madam Mayor, it was remiss of me not to note that I do have a conflict of interest regarding the ERA water budget component of this, and the way I'll deal with that, given that I'm not voting, is I'll stay in the room so that I'm able to answer questions should they arise. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Now I seek a second.
That's reasonable.
Councillor Turnbull, you wish to second it? Do you wish to speak now or withhold your opportunity?
I support this motion mainly because of part C, request that in future reports to council, etc. I do remember taking ERA Water out of the subsidiaries at a previous meeting so we could have more clarification and discussion. So in my opinion, lumping all the subsidiaries together for one vote doesn't work, as sometimes you have one that you really agree with and others that you don't, but you're voting as a whole. And so I would like to see them separated too. Thank you.
If there's no one else who wishes to speak, I'm happy for you to go back to Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Barry Cant provided us with some clarification in an email this afternoon in regard to some of the questions I had about East Waste, because I was concerned that their view and statement would affect our FOGO trial and any further ones that we wanted to undertake. But I haven't had any queries, and I hope everybody else is clear about what we're voting for. East Waste are doing a great job. They've got a lot of challenges. They're doing a lot of good work. Their plan, especially their objectives and strategic plan and vision is all very clearly outlined and I think very easy to read. It's just that statement that I just thought we'd be better off leaving out of an annual plan as we endorse it. So I hope you'll support that. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we move to item 11.4, also Councillor Davey. That's page 114.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move in accordance with the recommendation. And I just had a couple of queries. One of which was at paragraph 7B, we had a $2 million increase in operating expenditure due to a $1.8 million re-evaluation undertaken on stormwater and road assets. And I didn't have a chance to put a question in out of session, but I just wondered how that happened, and as it involves us quite a significant amount. Thanks.
Certainly. Through Madam Mayor, if I can refer that to Mr Spearman or Mr Birch.
Through the Mayor, that revaluation is part of a requirement of our accounting standards. It's basically an increase in the unit rates that make up the valuation of our assets. The assets were last revalued in 2018, and so we have a new valuation effective 1 July 22. Due to that base value being increased, it has had a flow-on effect to our annual depreciation to the tune of about $1.8 million for that class.
I'll second, thank you. I don't want to speak. No.
Sorry, I have to repeat, I didn't have my microphone on.
I just have another question, if I may.
All right.
Page 118, the Audit and Risk Committee, at paragraph 21, is it possible to synchronise, I mean, that talks about the Audit and Risk Committee haven't had a chance to look at the third quarter budget review. And I just wondered if it's possible to synchronise the meetings so that they are able to see these. Is there any sort of objective or objection to be able to do that, or is that a difficulty with the budget development?
No. Through Madam Mayor, we certainly aim to do that. This was just a circumstance where it wasn't possible this time, but in future we certainly endeavour to do that.
Councillor Henschke.
A question, if I may, please. On the asset revaluation, are we anticipating another revaluation and an impact on our operating bottom line there in the next foreseeable future, just reflecting on the rates scenario? Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll get Mr Birch to confirm the timeframes, but I think it's every 4 years, but I'll get Chris to confirm that.
Yeah, through the Chair, through the Mayor, we are required to do it whenever we know there's a difference in value from what is currently on the balance sheet. We have some schedules here in the order of about 3 to 4 years to do it, and we've built that into the long-term financial plan. This is a bit of a catch-up with our stormwater and road assets that hadn't been done, and it's just the fact that the cost of materials has gone up so much post-COVID, and so it's costing us a lot more, costing all councils a lot more to build infrastructure of this nature.
Councillor Cornish.
I've got mine on for a question. I just have another question, if I may. Thank you. This relates to page 125 of the report, increases in expenditure. I note the cost pressure relating to the storm damage clean-up, which has been completed and cost $73,000. I just wondered where that amount was taken from. Was that park maintenance and other aspects of our outdoor activities? Was that that amount taken from that, or did we borrow other money or have other money available from other accounts? I'm not quite clear where that came from.
Through Madam Mayor, I think you'll find that it's offset by all those decreases broadly across the organisation, but I'll just get Mr Birch to clarify if you can provide any further information.
Yes, through the Mayor, as the CEO said, there's no direct saving that's been offset to that. It's effectively a variety of savings that have come across the entire budget that have supplemented or diluted that additional expenditure.
Now, Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Just asking a question as well, if I can, in relation to the asset revaluation and the effect, obviously, on depreciation, which is one of the largest costs there. Other councils, are we ahead of other councils in the post-COVID re-evaluation and depreciation, and we're seeing that worn here before a number of others, or are others actually doing it and they've been better managed, I suppose, their rate rises over recent years to actually foresee a huge post-COVID increase of concrete and materials?
Through Madam Mayor, I might get Mr Birch just to give us some insights into that one.
Through the Mayor, it is something that is a sector-wide impact. There are meetings going on with my counterparts across the ERA and the Metro Councils just to compare notes, because you are correct, we're not the only ones who are experiencing this. My previous council were going through this exact thing as I was moving across to this council. And I am aware that another number of other ERA councils have had to go through this process in the last 12 months as well.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I'm happy to go back to Councillor Davey. You'd like me to put it to vote? All right. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? Motion's carried. Now we move to 11.5, and before we start, CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I just need to declare a conflict here, given that I'm a board member on the ERA Water Board. I'll deal with that by staying within the room to answer any questions should they arise. Thank you.
Now, Councillor Turnbull, it's your motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Just got a couple of questions. Campbelltown will pay $30,000 for the water, which is great for ERA Water. How does this compare with SA water rates? Are they paying less or more?
Through you, Madam Mayor, my understanding is it's at a 5% discount.
Sorry?
It's at a 5% discount, is my understanding, to SA Water. And for context, ERA Water councillors receive a 10% discount off of the SA Water price.
One, or can
Yes.
I speak to it? So,
If you want to ask another question, you can before you speak.
no, it's not, it's actually just a statement.
Okay, go ahead. then.
ERA pays $45,000 for the connections, and that's us. We pay a third of the costs. I think Campbelltown's been quite clever. They removed themselves from the original group and now buying water back. It's very good for ERA Water, but yeah, it just makes me wonder. It's really quite not fair. We're paying sort of 15 grand for their connection from Burnside Council. So I'm just, my point is that I think they've been very clever, and we've got the bill and they haven't.
Councillor Cornish.
Happy to second the motion.
Right.
At least the connection only happens once and they have to pay water every year, I would also add. But yeah, and it's great that there's an additional customer, so.
Doesn't seem to be anyone else who wishes to speak, so I'm happy to go back to Councillor Turnbull. Do you wish to say anything else? So happy for me to put the motion? All right, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Now the last one is 11.6, ERA Water second budget, and CEO will speak again.
Through you, Madam Mayor, similar to 11.5, just declaring I'm a board member of ERA Water, and I'll deal with my conflict by staying in the room to answer any questions should they arise.
And that was Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move in accordance with the recommendation. And it's self-evident, but I just wondered, mainly, the main question I have is where the Hydra Consulting review is at the moment in terms of that initiated by Walkerville into the whole of Era Water, and when we're likely to hear the results. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, happy to give an update. So I'm pleased to report that I've been working with the CEO of Walkerville Town Council, and together we agreed terms of reference, then went to market. It was a very limited field that was available, particularly given the $30,000 budget that was set. But Hydra Consulting responded initially with a slightly higher proposal, but Andrew and I worked together to amend their proposed amount of works to fit within our budget, and we're quite happy with what's resulted. At the minute, Hydra is working with the General Manager of Era Water to compile, doing a data analysis on all the data that we currently have. I haven't got a due date. I'll have to take that on notice. I can't tell you when it's going to be completed, but I know Hydra are actively compiling and working on the report as we speak. Yep. Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to speak? Otherwise, I shall go back to Councillor Davey.
I just have another follow-up
Oh, that's fine.
question, if I may.
Ask the question.
Is this an onerous task for the management? Because I think they've been reviewed before fairly recently, haven't they? And I'm just wondering how they're going in terms of this constant scrutiny.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the constant scrutiny is slightly wearing. However, the way we're viewing it as a board, just putting my board hat on, is that any outcomes from this report we believe can be turned into a positive and assist Era Water going forwards. In terms of the data, a lot of the hard work's already been done, in fairness to the consultant and to the General Manager of Era Water. So it's really just collation. It's not so much sourcing new data that we don't have readily at hand. It's about pulling together all the known sources and determining what picture that portrays. So, I must say the General Manager and also the Chair, Jeff Tate, have been very proactive and engaged in the process and have actually embraced it going forwards.
Councillor Cornish, you seconded this, didn't you? So
No, I didn't. That's why I'm putting my name down to second it.
Sorry, I thought you had.
All right,
so.
no one had, so I
No.
thought someone should before you put it to the vote.
I missed. I wasn't going to go to the vote yet, but I just saw it up on
seconding
the
and
screen.
reserving.
There was nothing there, so I just made the assumption, wrong assumption. So you're seconding it officially, so we can now put that up there for the mover and seconder. And Councillor Davey, is there anything else you wish to say? Or can
I've just
I put
got
it to
one
the
more
vote?
question, if I may. Thank you. I'd forgotten. Page 150 of the report talks about the discussion in attachment 3, and it talks about external water sales income. There's been a delay in connecting the systems at Marriotteville and Norwood International High Schools. Is there an explanation for this and a rationale? Does anyone know? And is that being fixed so that, they must be really needing the water at this stage with a really dry season.
The explanation actually is that the Department of Education moves exceedingly slowly. It's an ongoing frustration we have delivering to the high schools. Now it's moving, and we're having the most positive conversations we've ever had, but the pace of implementation, unfortunately, is very slow. It's not for want of try.
Certainly very historic. Councillor Hensham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question, will we be, as a chamber, receiving a draft of the report before it's finalised?
Assuming, of course, you're talking about the Hydra report.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll take that on notice. I'm just need to recall what was said in the brief for the benefit of the consultant.
Thank you.
Now, if there's no one else who wishes to speak or ask a question, or go back to Councillor Davey. Or do you want, happy for me to put it? All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. As the last of the reports, you have all received the answers to the questions on notice, and we have one motion on notice. Thank you, Councillor Jones, whose birthday it is today.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I better phone my wife and say there's going to be time to go out to dinner. You can't
have 2 dinners.
Yeah, well, hey, watch me. Look, colleagues, this should be brief. The issue of trucks on Portrush Road and that terrible junction where the freeway hits Crossroad, Glen Osmond Road and Portrush Road has been an issue for this council for many, many years. I think we put up, I think unanimously, a motion to the LGA conference asking this to be, for the LGA to raise the issue of the not going ahead of the Truro bypass as a serious issue for the local government to lobby the state government on, and it was disappointing that it was just dismissed by Garrock. It didn't even get to the LGA. So, look, I put this motion together. It was perhaps initially a bit more forthright, and then the tact and diplomacy of the CEO improved it considerably. As you know, to say, look, shot across the bows. We're not happy. We think this is a serious issue. We want to know why you don't think it's a serious issue, and we think you should reconsider and really start to lobby that this is a very serious issue, not only for us, but lots of other councils, because that Portrush Hampstead Road corridor, it goes through Norwood, it goes through Campbelltown, Port Adelaide Enfield, touches Salisbury. It would impact people in the Adelaide Hills Council, Mount Barker councils, Mitcham, Unley. So yes, lots of councils are impacted by this failure to put trucks on their dedicated truck route and not have them going through suburban areas. So look, I hope you will support the motion.
Councillor Hubel, are you going to speak as a seconder?
Not at this time,
All right.
thank you, Your Worship.
Then I will call upon Councillor Wilkin.
I will most definitely support this motion. We have been raising this issue for years, and I was appalled to see that the Local Government Association didn't think it was important to support it. Read the residents' objections through the years. Not only that, this freight road through Portrush Road, through the eastern end of the city, passes through schools and crossings and lots of pedestrian access to these roads. It is not on. You cannot keep putting it off. We need to get them off. They're not just single delivery trucks. They're not just, what do we call them originally? Yeah, just ordinary semi-trailers. They are ginormous double and triple trailers. And I've seen them on my recent foray up to the mid-north through the Gawler on the Northern Expressway out to Roseworthy, which is becoming like a creeping disease of houses crossing through fertile farmland. Between Gawler and Roseworthy would make you just vomit, really. But we need to get them off the internal roads in our city for residents' safety, primarily, and for the trucks to actually have a dedicated lane is what they should be advocating for. and assisting the residents of this state. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Yes, it was going to be the first meeting, though I wasn't going to speak, but with this motion of Councillor Jones, I feel I have to. Just 2 points I'd like to make. The first is I read the RAA quarterly publication today. Came today, got 820,000 members. I'm quite surprised by that. They are a preeminent motoring organisation. They've got a whole page devoted to Portrush Road in support of the bypass. I'm thinking, well, dear me, what's happened here? The second point I like to make is that when you want to make a change from without, you've got to be within. So I do remember former Councillor Lemon, former Councillor Pickett have all tried to get onto Garrick and other committees. We really have to, as a council, nominate people for these committees to make a change rather than complain from the outside. And it might require a lot of lobbying as well. So I just want to make that point because even we could complain the most and we're still not getting any action. So I'll just put that down as an idea.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. A question for the administration, please. I recall there was correspondence on this, and can you clarify my understanding that the answer was that there is a strategic project going on for a bypass, and that's what they're working on? And yeah, I just felt that it was in hand, that they have got a strategic project happening. Could you just confirm that, please? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the response we received was actually quite dismissive of the importance of this project. The facts as I understand them, the federal government initially pulled back their funding because the state had decided they need to redesign or do more work on the design of the project. The importance of our submission is to keep the pressure on both levels of government because there's calls on funding happening all the time, so it's important that we keep the foot on the pedal here. The reason for this push was that we had our local government association front and centre helping us with those lobbying efforts. And I commend Councillor Jones for this motion because it's abhorrent that they didn't represent the industry in this matter, because I believe it touches a myriad of regional councils as well, who are actually wanting the bypass to go through their towns to provide them with economic development opportunities. So it's a win-win on many levels. I've had a conversation with the CEO of the LJ about this very item that's on the agenda this evening. I won't go into the conversation out of respect for him, but needless to say, I was very disappointed with the response that I got. He is in agreement that should a request come that this get considered by the board, he will put it to the board and recommend that they take it up. So I have his kind of tacit support should this proceed. The Mayor and I are in conversations now. We've had a conversation with James Stevens, our federal member, and we're preparing for our trip to Canberra as part of ALGA, and we're in the process of now teeing up meetings. The first meeting would be with Catherine King, the Federal Minister for Transport and Infrastructure. I can't remember her exact title, and we're trying to line up a few other politicians there, and we're looking to draw in our ERA councils to make a collegiate representation on this matter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins, you have a question?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. Through you to you and the CEO, are all the ERA councils acting as one on this matter?
Through Madam Mayor, all the ERA councils are in furious support.
And expressing their support most vociferously?
So there's a number of councils that have written their letters of support.
Strongly?
Yes. No, it is fair to say we are getting good levels of support, strong support, but where the rubber hits the road is when we show a
16 wheels.
get our numbers together and show them that the ERA group, as a
Yes,
collective,
we are strong.
are pushing for this project. We represent 280,000 residents across these
Absolutely.
suburbs.
Thank you very
So
much.
when Canberra sees that and then the state see that, I think it'll carry some weight.
And you're going to pass a motion move a motion at the meeting in Canberra?
Through Madam Mayor, I explored that, but it didn't fit the criteria for ALGA. Obviously, ALGA takes a national view
Yeah.
of local government, but we will use the opportunity while we're there.
Thank you.
Meeting personally is often very effective. Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Just thoughts coming to mind. Councillor Dawes brought up the RAA as a support, which we haven't tapped into before in this issue, and whether or not we can actually use the Trucking Association as well as a big tap in and getting both the industry, the Peak Association in Australia on side, etc., to build a consortium of will.
If I may, Madam Mayor, excellent point. Councillor Cornish, I've just made a note to myself to talk to our media officer tomorrow. Bernie is pulling together a collateral that we're going to present to Canberra. There's two components I'm going to add. One is the RAA, which we heard this evening, which is excellent news, thank you. And the Mayor was sharing with me a few days ago that the industry trucking body have got an article where they're in furious support of the alternate route that's been proposed, which is a change because some years ago they perhaps weren't, but now they've agreed that it is a advantageous route.
If I may just add a little comment there, and I think Councillor Wilkins, you were at one of those public meetings where the DIT have plans, the Department of Infrastructure and Transport have plans for a bypass. We just need the funding. And 600,000 trucks a year, that's how many that we're dealing with. And it is the only city in Australia where the national freight route travels through suburban city. So it is pretty dreadful, the safety issues alone. And other councils are also concerned because the idea is that much of this traffic now is going to go down crossroads, deviated, and then it will also become a problem for Mitcham and Unley, and I've already spoken with both of those mayors. I just wanted to make a comment that I was online with the LGA and some of the members of Garrock last week. I made it quite clear that I was not happy, we were not happy, and that a motion was coming to our council tonight. And they were very dismissive. But I did get a very long phone call from the LGA after my online chat comments. So they may take some action now, but I'm not allowed to say whether I support this motion or not, but 12 years ago was the first time I raised a motion in this council to do something about this freeway. 12 years ago. 2 motions were sent to different governments. So anyway, Councillor Hallett.
A question for administration, please. In regard to our submission, would it be helpful to include accident stats? So how many accidents have there been involving trucks? How many deaths, how many significant injuries, things like that. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll relook at how we're phrasing our submission, but I'm fairly certain the business case that was put together when the funding was still in the budget contained a fair report with those statistics in it. But it won't hurt for us to remind the parties that be.
Councillor Cornish.
Sorry, I'm going on again. I think industry might be a cornerstone as well to tap in terms of an angle. The amount of times trucks have to stop and slow, it's more efficient for the bypass and would be greater for the Australian productivity. Being able to get and transport goods around this country at a much faster rate than having to stop and start all the time, let alone if an accident with, I don't know, chickens happens and all of a sudden we've got 60,000 chickens running around our suburbs and trying to catch them. There's some big issues with with what gets transported. Or sheep or cows. They all come through. I just wonder whether or not another avenue is like the efficiency and productivity of industry might be another avenue to look at.
The CEO already mentioned when I first started engaging with the industry, the freight industry, they were dead against it. But at both the presentations that were done at the public meeting, it was absolutely clear that the freight industry now totally supports the DIT with this bypass, because they, as you said, understand that it has less impact on their brakes as they're coming down the freeway. It has, especially since the speed has been reduced to 60, it actually slows down their journey down through the hills, and the extra 120 or 130 kilometres that they would have to do via Truro will actually not be an issue, because they'll be doing 110 kilometres an hour through a largely undeveloped area. And as the CEO has said, those regional councils, particularly Mid-Murray Council, are really keen to have the freight going through their area. So we have got a lot of support from the Sarrock as well as some of the Garrock councils, but very disappointing that it was ignored. Councillor.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Just to speak now, more food for thought is nothing like the smell of sheep and pigs and chickens along Portrush Road, which I don't walk that way because it smells, and this, the impact on the housing crisis. I mean, you couldn't build medium density accommodation along a Portrush Road, with that smell wafting through apartment windows, for goodness sake. So it's a real bottleneck, roadblock, issue for what we're trying to do with densification along arterials and transport routes. So it's, I just thought I'd add that too. Thank you.
Apart from the deaths that have already happened at the bottom of the freeway, and the fact that the bicycle lanes are almost impossible to install because of the freight. Anyway, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this? Otherwise, I'll go back to Councillor Jones. Sorry, Councillor Hubel.
Thank you, Worship. I will jump in.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah, that's good. Look, my mind is brought to the science fiction fantasy novel Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And in chapter 1, our hero, Arthur Dent, has a run-in with the local council. And specifically, it is a Mr. Prosser who proposes to him, you've got to build bypasses. Look, we've been talking about the support we can get for this, and it's hard to imagine who doesn't actually want this. What I found really shocking was not that local government association through Garrock was not willing to support it, but didn't see it as important enough to discuss. And I think that's a bit of a blight on the democratic process. This is a big concern for us, and I think it's right for us to be pushing back ferociously on this. Advocacy for the community is one of our roles. And I think, perhaps in light of our proposed rate increases, it would be a nice thing for the community to see us standing up and fighting to improve our local neighbourhoods by keeping the trucks out of our suburbs. So we keep on fighting the good fight, and solidarity will get us there.
Councillor Jones.
Colleagues, thank you for all your contributions. Look, I won't take up any more time. I just hope you support the motion.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And I think, unless anyone has any other business, that is the end of the meeting.
Can we get a sing to Councillor Jones?
7:40. Well, 7:44. I'll close the meeting. And we can still sing if you wish to. We already did it in the dining room at the very beginning, but not everyone was there. All right. Thank you very much for your attendance, and the staff as well for tonight. Might be a record.